Have you ever had someone ask you for a favor that seemed simple at first, only to later realize there was a deeper motive behind it? This is one of the most subtle, yet dangerous ways people manipulate trust. They come to you with a request that appears harmless. Maybe they need a small loan, a little help with a project, or just a tiny favor that won't take much of your time. But what they don't tell you is that their request is just the beginning. People with hidden agendas are not always easy to spot because they disguise their true intentions. They may act overly friendly, shower you with compliments, or make you feel special before asking for something. They'll say things like, "I know you're the only one I can trust with this," or "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." These words are carefully chosen to lower your guard, make you feel responsible, and ensure that you say yes. But here's the catch: once you agree, you've unknowingly entered their game. That small favor could turn into something much bigger. Maybe they ask you to cover for them at work, but later it turns into lying for them. Maybe they ask for a tiny financial favor, but soon they're always borrowing money with no intention of repaying it. Or perhaps they just need a ride home, but then it becomes a daily expectation. One of the most classic examples of this hidden agenda tactic happens in the workplace. You might have a colleague who frequently asks for help on projects. At first it seems harmless, you're just being a team player. But over time, you notice that they always seem to take credit for the work while you remain in the shadows. They never acknowledge your effort, never return the favor, and yet they keep coming back for more. Another example is in personal relationships. Some people use emotional closeness as a tool to get what they want. They might act like they're interested in your well-being, but their kindness always seems to come with strings attached. A friend might repeatedly ask for support but disappear when you need help. A partner might make you feel guilty for saying no, even when their request is unreasonable. So how do you protect yourself from these hidden agendas? First, recognize the signs. If someone only reaches out when they need something, that's a red flag. If their requests keep escalating, that's another warning. Pay attention to how they react when you say no. Do they accept it, or do they pressure you? True friends and trustworthy people respect your boundaries. Those with hidden agendas do not. Secondly, learn to ask questions. Instead of blindly agreeing, dig deeper. Ask, why do you need this? Or how will this affect me? Sometimes just showing that you're paying attention will make them think twice about taking advantage of you. Lastly, trust your instincts. If something feels off about a favor, it probably is. Your gut often senses things before your mind fully processes them. If you have even the slightest suspicion that someone is trying to manipulate you, step back and evaluate the situation before you commit. Because the truth is, not every favor is a sign of friendship. Some are calculated moves designed to take advantage of your kindness. And if you're not careful, you could find yourself trapped in a cycle where your generosity is being used, not appreciated. Guilt is one of the most powerful emotions humans experience. It can make us act against our best interests, push us into uncomfortable situations, and even control our decisions. Unfortunately, some people recognize this and use guilt as a tool to manipulate others into doing what they want. They make you feel like you owe them something even when you don't. Imagine this: a friend asks for your help moving to a new apartment. You have plans that day, so you politely decline. But instead of accepting your answer, they sigh heavily and say, "Wow, I thought you were the kind of person who helps friends. Guess I was wrong." Suddenly you feel guilty, you don't want to seem like a bad friend, so you change your plans and agree to help even though you never intended to. That's emotional manipulation in action. People who use guilt as a weapon often disguise it under the pretense of friendship, loyalty, or even love. They'll say things like, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. I guess I just care more about this relationship than you do. If you really love me, you'd do this for me. I'm just so disappointed, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised." Notice how none of these statements are direct requests. Instead, they are designed to make you feel obligated to act. The person doesn't outright say, "Please do this," because then you could simply say no. Instead, they make you feel like a terrible person for even considering saying no. One of the most dangerous aspects of guilt-based manipulation is that it often comes from people we care about: family, friends, co-workers, or partners. This makes it even harder to recognize and resist. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to be seen as selfish, so you comply even when it makes you uncomfortable. But here's what you need to remember: true relationships are based on mutual respect, not guilt. If someone constantly makes you feel guilty when you set a boundary, they are not respecting you, they are controlling you. So how do you deal with guilt manipulators? 1. Recognize the pattern. The first step is to be aware of when someone is using guilt as a weapon. Do you feel bad for saying no even when you have a valid reason? Do they make you question your own worth? That's a sign of emotional manipulation. 2. Stand your ground. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your time, energy, or well-being. Instead of arguing, simply say, I understand that you're upset, but I can't help this time. You do not need to justify or over-explain your decision. 3. Flip the perspective. If someone makes you feel guilty for saying no, ask yourself, would they do the same for me? If the answer is no, then why should you feel bad about setting boundaries? 4. Distance yourself if necessary. If a person constantly uses guilt to manipulate you, consider stepping back from the relationship. Someone who truly values you won't need to guilt trip you into helping them. At the end of the day, helping others should be a choice, not an obligation forced by emotional manipulation. Because if someone only values you when you're doing things for them, then they don't value you. They value what you can offer. Have you ever noticed that some people always seem to be in need? No matter how many times you help them, it's never enough. They always have one more favor to ask, just a little help here, just a small thing there. And before you know it, you've become their go-to person for everything, while they rarely, if ever, return the favor. This is what I call the never-ending cycle of favors. It starts subtly. At first, they ask for something reasonable, maybe borrowing a book, getting a ride, or needing advice. But over time, the requests grow bigger and more frequent. Suddenly, you're constantly doing things for them, and it's no longer about friendship or kindness, it's about them expecting your help. The worst part: these people often act as if they're powerless to do things on their own. They rely on others because they know it's easier to manipulate help than to take responsibility. They'll say things like, I would do it myself, but I just don't know how. You're so much better at this than me. Could you just handle it? I don't have anyone else to ask. You're my only hope. It sounds innocent, but in reality, they're using your generosity as a crutch. Instead of learning to solve their own problems, they make you responsible for their burdens. And every time you say yes, you reinforce the cycle. Why is this dangerous? The never-ending favor cycle doesn't just drain your time, it drains your energy, your patience, and sometimes even your financial stability. You start feeling obligated to help because you don't want to seem rude or uncaring. But the truth is, constantly helping someone who refuses to help themselves isn't kindness, it's enabling. And here's the real problem. These people rarely return the favor. They might promise to help you next time, but when that time comes, they're suddenly too busy, too broke, or too unavailable. And if you ever stop helping them, they make you feel guilty for changing. They'll say things like, wow, you've really changed. You used to be so helpful. I guess I just can't count on you anymore. I always thought you were a true friend, but I guess I was wrong. See the pattern? They never actually appreciated your help, they just expected it. How to break the cycle? 1. Recognize the one-way street. If someone constantly asks for favors but never offers to help in return, take a step back. A real friendship is about balance, not obligation. 2. Set clear boundaries. The next time they ask for a favor, don't immediately say yes. Instead, try saying, I can't help with that right now. I think you can handle this on your own. I've helped a lot in the past, but I need to focus on my own priorities. Watch their reaction. If they get upset or try to guilt trip you, that's a sign they were taking advantage of your kindness. 3. Stop feeling guilty. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you respect your own time and energy. If someone only values you when you're doing things for them, then they never truly valued you. 4. Test their friendship. Ask yourself, if I stopped doing favors for them today, would we still be friends? If the answer is no, then the relationship was never built on genuine friendship, it was built on convenience. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with helping people. But there's a big difference between helping someone who's truly in need and being used by someone who refuses to take responsibility for themselves. Don't let anyone turn your kindness into their personal convenience. Money has a strange way of changing relationships. It can turn friends into strangers, trust into suspicion, and generosity into regret. One of the biggest red flags in any relationship, whether personal, professional, or even within family, is someone who frequently asks for financial favors. It might start as something small, but when money enters the equation, things can spiral out of control fast. At first, it seems harmless. A friend might ask to borrow a few dollars for lunch, promising to pay you back tomorrow. Then next week, they need just a little more to cover an expected bill. Before you know it, you've become their personal ATM, always available when they need cash, but mysteriously ignored when it's time to pay you back. And let's be honest, getting repaid is rarely as easy as they make it sound. At first, they might give excuses. Oh, I forgot. I'll pay you next week. I'm waiting on my paycheck just a little longer. I promise I haven't forgotten about you. Then, suddenly, they stop mentioning it altogether. They act like the debt never existed, hoping you'll feel too awkward to bring it up. And if you do remind them, they might get defensive. Wow, I didn't realize you cared about money so much. I thought we were friends. Friends don't pressure each other. You make way more than me. Why does this even matter to you? At this point, the situation has gone from a simple financial favor to a manipulation tactic. Instead of acknowledging their responsibility, they turn it around and make you feel guilty for asking for what's rightfully yours. Why lending money can ruin relationships? When you give someone money, it changes the dynamic of the relationship. Whether they realize it or not, they start seeing you as a source of financial support rather than an equal. And if they know you're too kind to demand repayment, they will continue pushing the boundary until you finally put a stop to it. Even worse, once you lend to them once, they assume they can come back for more. The amount increases, the excuses get longer, and before you know it, you're wondering how you got yourself into this mess. And let's not forget the most dangerous scenario when someone asks you to co-sign a loan or put something in your name. This isn't just a favor, this is a financial trap. If they fail to pay, you're the one on the hook. Your credit score gets damaged, your bank account gets drained. Meanwhile, they walk away with no consequences. How to handle financial requests without ruining relationships? 1. Stick to a rule. Never lend what you can't afford to lose. If you do decide to help, consider it a gift rather than a loan. That way, if you never get it back, it won't create tension. 2. Say no with confidence. If someone asks for money and you're uncomfortable, simply say, I'm not in a position to lend money right now. I have my own financial responsibilities, so I can't help. I make it a rule not to mix money in relationships. You don't owe them an explanation. A simple no is enough. 3. Redirect the rest. Instead of giving them money, suggest other ways they can solve their problem. Maybe they need a side job, a budget plan, or financial discipline. If they get upset that you won't just hand over cash, that's a sign they were never looking for real help, just an easy way out. 4. Observe their reaction. A person who truly respects you won't pressure you or make you feel guilty for saying no. But someone who is just using you, they'll either disappear or suddenly start acting cold. That tells you everything you need to know about their true intentions. At the end of the day, financial favors are one of the quickest ways to destroy trust. If someone repeatedly asks for money but never respects your boundaries, they're not looking for help, they're looking for someone to take advantage of. And if they truly valued your relationship, they wouldn't put you in that position to begin with. We all have that one person in our life, the one who always seems to be in trouble, always making bad decisions, and somehow always pulling others into their chaos. These people don't just ask for favors, they ask you to take on their problems, as if they were your own. And if you're not careful, their mess can quickly become yours. At first, it might seem like they just need a little help. Maybe they ask you to vouch for them in a situation where they were clearly in the wrong. Maybe they need you to take the blame for something they did, or maybe they're asking for just one tiny lie to cover up their mistakes. It all starts small, but once you say yes, they know they can rely on you to clean up after them. How'd they pull you in? 1. They play the victim. These people rarely take responsibility for their own mistakes. Instead, they'll act like the world is against them, and that they have no choice but to ask for your help. They'll say things like, I didn't mean to get into this situation. You're the only one who can help me. If you don't do this, I'll be in serious trouble. Please, just this once. I swear it won't happen again. 2. They make it seem harmless. At first, their request doesn't seem like a big deal. Maybe they ask you to cover for them at work, pretend you were with them when they were actually somewhere else, or help them talk their way out of a situation. But every time you agree, the requests get bigger and riskier. 3. They use friendship or loyalty against you. Instead of asking you directly, they'll make it about your relationship. I thought we were friends. Friends help each other. You always say you have my back. Well, now's your chance to prove it. If the situation were reversed, I'd do it for you. But would they? That's the real question. Why this is dangerous: when you start fixing other people's problems, you risk becoming guilty by association. Their mistakes now reflect on you. Their bad reputation spreads to you. And in extreme cases, you could even find yourself in legal or professional trouble just because you helped the wrong person. Think about this. A friend asks you to lie to their boss so they don't get fired. Later, the truth comes out, and now your integrity is questioned. 2. Someone asks you to be a reference for a job they're completely unqualified for. When they get hired and fail, your name is attached to their incompetence. A family member asks you to take out a loan for them because their credit is bad. They promise to pay, but they don't, and leaving you with the debt. One of the biggest signs that someone is dragging you into their mess is that they never seem to learn from their mistakes. They keep making the same bad choices, and instead of changing, they rely on others to fix things for them. How to protect yourself? 1. Recognize the pattern. If someone is always in trouble and always looking for an escape, chances are they won't change. Ask yourself, do they ever take responsibility for their own actions? 2, set boundaries. If someone asks you to do something you're uncomfortable with, say no. You don't owe anyone an excuse. Just a simple, I can't do that is enough. If they try to guilt trip you, that's a clear sign they don't respect your boundaries. 3, offer advice, not action. Instead of solving their problems for them, offer guidance. I can't do that, but maybe you should talk to a professional. You need to figure this one out yourself. I care about you, but I can't get involved. If they get angry that you won't step in, it means they weren't looking for a real solution. They were looking for someone to take the fall for them. 4, accept that some people won't change. Some people want to live in chaos. They don't want solutions, they just want others to suffer with them. If you find yourself constantly helping someone who refuses to take responsibility for their actions, the best thing you can do is walk away. Because at the end of the day, someone else's mess is not your responsibility. And the sooner you step away, the sooner they'll be forced to clean up after themselves. Time is one of the most valuable things you have. Unlike money, you can't earn more of it. Unlike possessions, once it's spent, it's gone forever. That's why one of the most dangerous favors people ask for is your time, especially when they have no intention of ever giving theirs in return. Have you ever had a friend, colleague, or even family member who constantly demands your time but never seems to be there when you need them? They expect you to drop everything for them, whether it's helping them move, listening to their endless problems, or doing them just one little favor that somehow takes hours of your day. But when the situation is reversed, they're suddenly too busy. How they waste your time when they always need help but never offer it. They expect you to be available whenever they call. But when you need a favor, they have an excuse. Oh man, I wish I could help, but I'm swamped. I'm just really exhausted right now. I'll make it up to you next time. But next time never comes. 2, they treat your time like it's free. They don't respect your schedule because to them your time isn't as important as theirs. They might call you at inconvenient hours and expect you to answer. Ask you to run errands for them as if you have nothing better to do. Make last-minute plans and get annoyed if you can't drop everything to join them. 3, they expect emotional labor without giving it back. Some people don't just take your time physically, they drain you mentally too. They dump all their problems on you, expecting you to listen for hours, but when you need someone to talk to, they suddenly don't have the time or patience. At first it might seem like they just need support. But over time, you realize this isn't mutual. It's one-sided. And if you let it continue, you'll spend all your time catering to their needs while neglecting your own. Why this is a problem? When someone takes your time without giving anything in return, they are stealing your energy, productivity, and peace of mind. They don't respect your priorities because they see you as someone who will always say yes. And the more you give, the more they expect. Think about how much time you've lost doing things for others that they would never do for you. Hours helping someone with a project, only for them to disappear when you need help. Late nights talking someone through their problems, only for them to be unavailable when you're struggling. This isn't friendship. This isn't a healthy relationship. This is someone using you. How to stop people from wasting your time? 1, recognize the pattern. Ask yourself, does this person respect my time the way I respect theirs? If the answer is no, it's time to make a change. 2, say no without guilt. You don't need an excuse. If someone asks for your time and you don't want to give it, simply say, I can't right now. I have my own priorities to take care of. I'd love to help, but I just don't have the time. If they get upset, that's a sign they weren't looking for a fair relationship. They just wanted your time for their benefit. 3, set boundaries and stick to them. If they constantly call and expect you to answer, stop picking up. If they always ask for last-minute help, tell them you need advance notice. If they dump their problems on you but never listen to yours, stop being their emotional therapist. 4, invest your time in people who value it. Not everyone is selfish with your time. Real friends, supportive family, and good colleagues will respect your schedule and be there for you in return. Spend your time with those who give back, not just those who take. The bottom line, your time is yours. Don't waste it on people who only see you as a resource rather than a person. Because at the end of the day, if someone truly cares about you, they won't just take your time, they'll give you theirs too. Life is too short to be surrounded by people who only take and never give. The truth is, not everyone who asks for a favor deserves your help. Some people see your kindness as an opportunity, your generosity as a weakness, and your loyalty as something they can manipulate. If you recognize the signs early, you can avoid being used. The people who ask for money but never pay it back, who always need your time but never return the favor, who drag you into their mess or make their problems your responsibility, these are not the people you want in your life. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-respect. Protecting your time and energy isn't rude, it's necessary. And setting boundaries isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. So the next time someone asks for a favor, pause and ask yourself, would they do the same for me? Is this a one-time request, or is this a pattern? Is helping them actually benefiting them, or just making them dependent on me? The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. The ones who only want to use you will get angry when you stop saying yes. And that in itself is all the proof you need. Never trust those who always take but never give. Surround yourself with people who value you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. You're allowed to choose yourself. Let's take a moment to breathe, because this one hits deep. When someone doesn't value you, the hardest part is not seeing the signs. It's believing them. It's staying after the silence. It's justifying the patterns. It's finding reasons to hold on, even when your heart is quietly begging you to let go. Because when you love someone, especially deeply, you don't want to give up. You want to understand. You want to heal. You want to believe that love is enough. But here's what no one tells you. Choosing yourself isn't giving up. It's coming home. It's recognizing that someone else's inability to show up for you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their capacity. And no matter how much you care, no matter how much you try, no matter how much potential you see in them, you can't build a relationship alone. And you shouldn't have to bleed yourself dry just to be seen, heard, or loved in return. You're allowed to say, this isn't enough for me, even if he's not a terrible person, even if he says he loves you, even if there are good moments, even if it's hard. You're allowed to outgrow dynamics that ask you to settle, to stop making excuses for someone else's emotional absence, to walk away not because you don't care, but because you finally do care about yourself. And this doesn't make you cold, bitter, or heartless. It makes you honest. It makes you whole. Because when you choose yourself, you don't close the door to love, you open the door to better love, to real love, to love that doesn't ask you to question your sanity, your worth, or your place in someone's life. So if no one's told you lately, let me say it now. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not wrong for wanting to feel safe, supported, and seen. And if someone can't give you that, it doesn't mean you're not worthy of it. It just means they're not the one who's meant to hold your heart. When someone doesn't value you, it rarely looks how you expect. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious, and it's not always cruel, but it always leaves you feeling like you're working harder than you should have to just to be met halfway. You begin to question your expectations. You shrink your voice. You hold on to potential, hoping it will one day grow into consistency, presence, love. But the truth is, love that requires you to lose yourself to keep it isn't love at all. Real value is shown in how someone shows up consistently, not just when it suits them. Holds space for your feelings without shaming you for them, takes responsibility for their actions, matches your emotional effort, speaks to you with respect in every tone, supports your growth, even if it means letting you go. So if you've been stuck in a space where you feel unseen, unheard, or undervalued, this is your reminder. You don't need louder words. You don't need more proof. You need peace. And peace comes from choosing you not as a backup plan, but as the first and final decision. Choosing yourself is not a betrayal of love. It's a reclamation of your worth. And that is the kind of love that will never require you to beg, explain, or prove anything again. Would you like this formatted as a full speech now, or kept as individual notes for social posts, slides, or a workshop?